video I'll show you how to replace the factory stereo with an aftermarket one using aftermarket. In this video I'll show you how to change out the factory radio with an aftermarket radio in a 2019 Mercedes Sprinter. It's not as easy as just all the older ones. Now you need a new wiring harness, which I have that as well. So we'll change that out, and then we're going to change out the rear view camera from this. It's a little tiny screen about that big to the new head unit that we have, which will go in the dash. Step one for the Sprinter radio installation is removing disconnecting the battery. The 2018 Sprinter just had a clip right here, but the 2019 has it in this panel. So apparently you just pop this off. There. They've made it so conveniently located all the way in there. So you gotta get your hand in there and get this red tab at the top. A push. So you push down on the tab and then you pull out and away. That's the battery disconnect. Alright, what we're going to need, first thing will be trim removal tool, or usually like a nylon pry bar is what it's called, but we'll take the actual dash cover off with that. And then antenna adapter. I don't know if we'll actually use that one because I have the aftermarket wiring harness, but this is all from Crutchfield. I called and talked to them, and they had everything I needed except for the wiring harness. That seemed to be a tough thing to get for them. The new head unit, we did the Sony XAV AX1000. It's touchscreen, CarPlay, and then it's got a volume knob on it, which this van doesn't have steering wheel controls, so I really wanted a physical volume knob. That's everything from Crutchfield. Now this, we ordered from Mid-City Engineering. I'll post a link to it down below. But this is way different than installing the stereo on the older Sprinters. Way different. First thing I'm going to do, get this panel off. Definitely not as easy as the 2018, but so you can see all the clip locations. The two that were giving me the hardest time is these two here, so just be careful on this thing. It is kind of flimsy, but it does eventually come out. Hey, these vents close. I didn't know that. Let me turn them. Huh. Learn something new every day. Alright, on to the next step. Let's go get the radio prepared. Okay, so now onto this wiring harness. This should be interesting. This is going to be the confusing part. let's remove the old stereo. One up there, one down there. I'll do the same over there. Alright. So that comes out, and then we're going to have all these connections on the back. We've got our set of speaker wires here, power, I'm assuming ground. This is all different than the older models. Here's our antenna. So I'm going to disconnect all of this, and then we'll go work on that harness that we have. Sorry, I had to place an order for coffee. Antenna plug. It's like a little purple thing you clip up. Those two just came out with a simple clip, and this one looks like one of Mercedes' crazy big plugs. Let's see. So that comes, so you can see where it spins up, and then these pieces actually clip into the sides, and that will disconnect that. Let's go figure out what all these are for. Alright, let me show you what we got going on here. Antenna adapter, or that's the antenna. The kit I got from Mid-City Engineering has an adapter that will actually come from the antenna, run down, a pillar come through, and attach to the back of my Sony. Then we have these four wires here are driver side speaker wires, passenger side speaker wires. I don't know which one is which. I have to figure that out. And then we're gonna have looks like reverse signal will probably be the purple, or maybe it's this little purple one. I still got to decode all of that. But then you have your power, your ground. Now these ones here, I think these ones have to do, there's something to do with the SOS feature in this van, so I've got to figure that out. Mid-City Engineering has a pretty good write-up on what two wires need to be wired together, I guess, for this van. So we'll go start looking at that. So first thing will be the antenna. So this is the connection that Mid-City Engineering sent. So this will connect to the antenna, and it will run down. This is the antenna connection that goes into the back of the new stereo. So that's good. We got one of them figured out. Next will be the rear view camera. This will clip into the signal from the rear view camera that is up in the headliner, and then it's going to run down, and I think it's an RCA connection. Will connect into the camera port onto the stereo. And I'm pretty sure this will get bridged into the wiring harness that's in there now, but I got to figure that out. And we have three: yellow, red, brown. Brown looks like the ground connection. Sent over a couple fuses. Alright, Mid-City Engineering has a pretty good write-up on their website, but this is the connection we're going to disconnect from the factory. Just comes off, and then with their harness that they provide, there's a connection right there. Yep. And then I'm going to run it along here and then down the pillar. Now we're going to do the rear view camera integration for the new stereo versus having the rear view camera in this, because it's only this big versus the 7-inch screen that we have. So this comes off, this piece slides up. Alright, once this panel's removed, you're looking for the factory wiring harness. right here. Gonna disconnect that. Nothing's easy. And then with Mid-City Engineering's harness, disconnect it up. This can go back on like so. And then now I'm gonna run this up through here. All right, so new radio harness, new rear view camera harness. I'm actually gonna run the harnesses together along here and then down the A-pillar through the dash to the stereo. All right, back at it. So 2018 Sprinter, this trim pedal just popped off. 2019, they added a screw. So it's underneath this little airbag symbol. And there is a torx under there, maybe T25. Let's see what we got. So remove that, and we'll be able to remove this A-pillar. Oh, Mercedes. Making it difficult. Actually, this is nice to have an extra screw in here to hold this up. Also, this one is equipped with the airbags. Disconnect your battery before you start messing with this stuff, just to make sure. I like reading that. Jeez Louise. Alright. Guess you gotta learn somehow on these new ones. So now I'm gonna run, secure this all the way down here, and then we're gonna run through the panel down here.
I forgot to show it in here, but I also ran the Bluetooth mic from the driver's side all the way along and down that same wire run area.
There's a panel over here that needs to get removed. Right here. I'm going to run wires in, back behind, and behind all of this, up and over to the stereo. Just to make it easier from running the wires, I'm going to remove this glove box. It's not really a glove box, it's like a glove cubby. Thing. Screw, its torx, and then there's 3 under here. 1, 2, 3, and then there's 2 in here. I'm just prying it out. I could probably pull it all the way out right now, but I don't think I need to. Okay, got them out now. So just make sure when you run back through here, it's not rubbing up against anything, nothing sharp, no fan motors or anything like that. I'm gonna reinstall all this and get this pillar back on and go from there. This is what I'm working with. These are the questions that I have. So I'm gonna call Mid-City Engineering just to talk to them and see, but I think we're kind of figuring it out as we go.
Go ahead and pause this section if you want to really get a good look at this wiring guide. Not everyone will need it, but this really helps me out to visualize everything. I talked to the guys at Mid-City Engineering and found out where they wanted the yellow and the red power to go. And their Sprinter that they were working on had a fuse. It was an auxiliary fuse block that my Sprinter did not have. I've had 4 Sprinters and none of them have had it, so theirs must have been an option. So in here I am finding a 12 volt constant power, so even when the key is off it needs to have power, and that'll be for the yellow. And then I'm finding a fuse or power source that has 12 volts when the van is running, and that'll be for the red. So what I'm going to do, use a multimeter, find a good ground, and find the fuses that's constant and the fuses that are only when the van is running. Remove the 3 torx screws there. That cap will come off. Then you can remove the whole entire floor mat. We need access to run the red, yellow, and brown electrical wires to the head unit. Same thing with the passenger side. Remove the 3 torx screws, and then you're going to be removing the footwell toolkit cover. Next, go ahead and remove the 2 10mm nuts, and that will remove that whole black cover, and then we're going to work on the white cover. The white one's a little finicky. Using needle nose pliers or a flathead screwdriver, you're going to undo these clips all the way around on both sides. Having that lifted up, now you can gain access to the wiring underneath the driver's seat, and that will gain access to the fuse box. These are the wires from Mid-City Engineering for the power. I'll reuse those fuses later. At the time of this recording, I didn't have a fish tape, so I just used an old piece of wire that I had laying around. Just use caution with that underneath the driver's seat. There's a lot of connections under there. Cut off the fuses on the 2 wires provided from Mid-City Engineering and strip those. What I'm going to use is an add a fuse. So it is a 2 fuse slot, and what I'll do is I will remove a fuse from the factory fuse box and replace it with that 2 fuse piece. One will power the original fuse with the original fuse mount, and the second one will be the fuse that I'm inserting there right now, and that will be powering my yellow constant. Now go ahead and do the same for the red wire. Make sure you check your own fuses on your Sprinter. It might be different. Every model that I've done has been a little different. I've worked on a couple different years, and just check your own. Make sure you find your own 12 volt constant and 12 volt when the van is running. Go ahead and find a good spot for your ground wire. I found a decent spot underneath the driver's seat. The wiring harness from Mid-City Engineering wasn't long enough, so I had to extend them out. I didn't have any yellow wire, so I just made my own label, yellow constant. It's going to be the same color wire as the red one. That way when it gets to the radio, I'll know which one it is. All these wire connections, I'm using a new connector I found. It's heat shrink and solder connected in one. All you do is slide it on, twist the 2 wires together to make a decent connection, and then you slide the heat shrink and solder over the top of the connection, making sure you center solder over the 2 wires. And once you get it on there, right there, you're going to heat it up with your heat gun, and that will shrink the shrink wrap all the way around, and then it will actually melt the solder. It starts melting that solder pretty quickly, and you actually see it run through both connections of the wires. Made extensions for each one of the wires, the red, the yellow, and the brown, all the way up to the head unit. And then mark the yellow with that label I made earlier. This is the factory SOS connections. There is a brown, a white, and a silver. And I'm going to cut those connectors off and connect all three of those wires together, matching colors. There are 2 sets of speaker wires on the factory harness. 2 grays, 2 whites. Cut those and go ahead and match those to your aftermarket radio harness. Attach the blue wire from the Mid-City Engineering antenna harness to the blue wire on the aftermarket radio. Now go ahead and attach the purple wire from the backup camera from Mid-City Engineering to the purple wire on your aftermarket radio harness. Now go ahead and hook up the power wire from the Mid-City Engineering harness that you extended out, red to red, yellow to yellow, and the ground to the black wire on your aftermarket radio harness. I'm just calling these 2 connectors the SOS connectors. These are the ones on the back of the factory radio. Has something to do with the SOS system. Here, I'm marking one of them because they look almost identical, so if I had to, I could replace it, but I marked the piece I cut off and then I marked the same wire that I just cut it off on, and store that somewhere just in case you need it in the future. Here I solder connected all the SOS wires together, brown to brown, white to white, and silver to silver. Connect up the aftermarket radio wiring harness, the antenna, go and connect up the rear view camera, RCA cable into the back. I didn't show it, but you also connect up your Bluetooth mic. And I actually don't show it in this part, but I went ahead and capped off each of the bare wires that were left over in the harness on both sides, and then we'll take it for a test toast.
Alright, one more test. So, it already sounds better. But look, I need to get rid of that. That's an issue with these ones. Look at that, reverse camera. It's hard to tell because of the glare. But now it's in here instead of that little tiny one that was in the factory. Oh man, that's so cool.